Hello and welcome to episode 1432 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, July 4th. Happy 4th of July. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning. We're not as up as early, so maybe that's why I said afternoon, but it's morning here even still, so it's definitely morning for you. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm still recovering from the loss of Spencer Schwellenbach, and I think I will be for a long time. The grieving process is a slow one that takes time, and
Everyone goes at their own pace too.
Yeah. It's I definitely still in the anger period, I think.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I would be too. That's beyond frustrating. Injuries are the dumbest, as we always say. But we got some two-start pitchers to discuss. It's a pretty interesting board here. There's some names that are going to make you think. I think interesting sentence there. But yeah, there's some names that are going to make you think a guy that's repeating from last week because he didn't get his two-step, did his one start this week. Add confidence for you. Let's just get started with a former Justin Mason guy, or at least somebody that you still keep in your orbit. I don't know how many shares you have of Brandon Pfaadt this year, but I know he's been somebody that you've been a fan of. I have too, by the way. I just jumped off a little bit sooner this year. I wasn't quite as sold. We had a few debates about him, and I'm just curious where you're at right now because the homers have really infiltrated his stat line and become a huge issue. 1.2 homer per nine last year, manageable. It was still kind of tough at times, but it was manageable. He had a 19% strikeout minus walk. So he had bouts of goodness. This year, Pfaadt's home run rate is up to 1.6, Justin. And that is just really difficult to survive, let alone the fact that his strikeout minus walk is down to 14%. So I ask you, with Brandon Pfaadt facing a double roadie at San Diego and at LA, San Diego, not that good of an offense, by the way. And the Angels, not an amazing offense, but what do? They hit bombs. So how do you feel about your boy Brandon Pfaadt, both here in this two-step and just kind of generally? Have you moved off of him at all?
I'm still holding him in 15-team leagues whereas I've got him, but I don't think I would in a 10 or a 12. That being said, like over his last four starts, he's only allowed 2 home runs.
That's fantastic if that's an indication of something real. Yeah.
So it's hard to know though, because you are talking about like 3 of those 4 teams are not teams that really hit home runs. You have the Rockies, you have the Marlins, you have the Giants. But over the last 2 starts, no home runs. So it kind of intrigued there a little bit, especially because the strikeouts have kind of come back over these last 3 starts. I still think that this is a difficult start. You're getting away from Arizona, which is a good park to pitch in. San Diego's a decent park to pitch in, but the Angels do hit a crap ton of home runs, as you alluded to. So I'm a little bit tentative on this. I think this is only a 15-team start this week, and in a 10 or 12, I'm probably sticking away from Brandon Pfaadt.
Yep, cosign all of that. 15, I can see it, but I'm still trying not to. I can see maybe still holding through this two-step with Pfaadt if you have some belief like you do, and you're seeing the recent performance, and you're like, I'm not going to start it, but I'm going to hold. I can get behind that, but it's a dodgy start to be sure with Brandon Pfaadt. Let's go to Jeffrey Springs, who, he's kind of turned his season around. He's been much better of late, and now he's sitting with an Atlanta, Toronto, but both are at home. And, that ain't like it used to be when he was a Ray. That used to be good news. And obviously that's not as good news for Rays anymore. But back when they were in the Trop, that was good news. He is one of the A's pitchers showing a distinct home road split, 4.73 ERA at home with a 1.28 whip for Jeffrey Springs. And then it drops to a 3.61, 1.20 on the road. So he is appreciably better. 8 homers in both setups, home and away, but 17 more innings on the road. So the home run rate is much better on the road. Where are we going with Jeffrey Springs right now? Neither are on the road. Is that an automatic no-go zone for you then?
I mean, I think it definitely puts it in the 15-team mix category as opposed to an automatic start in like 10s and 12s. I will say, if you look at the game logs, a lot of the damage that was done at home were in 2 starts in April.
Right. When things really looked ugly early on, and we were thinking, are we even going to be having Springs on rosters? And he rebounded. He got on track. And now he has, in fact, his worst start since May 1st is actually a roadie in Toronto. 6
Yeah. And if you look, I mean, through June, he has 6 starts, or since the start of June, he has 6 starts, 2.97 ERA. Now that only includes 2 home starts. So he's had 2
Both were good, though.
Both were fine, right? Like, you know, he gave up 3 in 6 2/3 with 7 strikeouts versus Minnesota. Absolutely just steamrolled Cleveland, but a lot of teams are steamrolling Cleveland's offense right now. So I definitely think this is a little bit scarier. Things are starting to warm up a little bit in Northern California where he's going to be playing in Sacramento. But you and I were talking about before we started recording, like it has been a super, super mild summer.
Right.
The most I've lived in Northern California off and on since 2000. And this has been the most mild summer I have ever seen. Now, I expect it to heat up, as I keep saying, and Sacramento should heat up as well. But so far, it's actually been really, really mild. And so, like, I might risk this in a 15. Probably still not doing in 10 or 12. I don't know if the upside warrants. He doesn't get enough strikeouts where, like, I'm kind of willing to take those risks, especially the A's are just terrible. Like,
but it is their pitching. So like there is some offensive support here that Springs can get, that if he pitches well, we could steal a dub. But you certainly can't start him for wins, like with any expectation, even though he has 6.
Yeah, I mean, he's got over his last 6 starts, he has 1 win. Like it's really hard to kind of go, well, at least I'll get wins here. No. I don't know that you are going to. So I think this is more of kind of a 15-team start because there aren't very many options left. But 10s and 12s, you should have better options than Jeffrey Springs. That's
where I'm at. I can start this in 15s with Springs, but I'm not bending over backwards in any other format. Daisy Fuentes, it should be. It's Didier Fuentes. The Silent Assassin is his nickname, which is pretty cool. He's only been up in the majors for 12 innings, and he's already got a kick-ass nickname like that. That's pretty dope. That brings him closer to Daisy Fuentes. It's still Daisy for me in all formats. But what about Didier Fuentes? He's got the Athletics. He's facing Springs in one of those starts, and then a trip to St. Louis. So he's on the road for 2 at Athletics, at St. Louis. Braves don't support the way we would normally expect, right? They're not that good. We can no longer say, well, he's got the Braves behind him. They stink, dude, at least relative to expectations. So what about Fuentes here?
First, how many people listening actually got that reference?
A decent number. Fantasy communities are old. A lot of people know who Daisy Fuentes is. And if you don't, she was...
I know who she is, but... Like,
no, I know you do, but she was just, a babe of the day. Not just, I'm digging myself a hole. She's awesome. She's hot.
Yeah.
And she was an actress back in the day. I don't think she's acting anymore.
MTV VJ, baby.
Yes. That's where I really know her was MTV, and
back when they actually played music, right?
I know. And you know what? That's an old boomer thing that I will always support my boomer friends on, of like roasting MTV, because all they play now is that stupid ass clip show with that.
And reality shows, reality dating shows.
What the hell is that? Oh, Ridiculousness. That guy like runs MTV now, and shouts to him. Some skateboard dude, Rob Deerdrick or something, turned into like a huge person that just like owns MTV basically, because they run his show all the time. Bring back Daisy. Anyway, what about Didier? Do we like him at all? He's had 3 starts.
The command has been a massive issue.
They've not been that okay. Sorry, I said they've been okay. One was really terrible. One against Miami was okay, and then his most recent one against the Angels was meh. The only thing I will say about the Angels one, no homers at least for Fuentes.
Yeah, the problem was 3 walks, and you look at kind of like the stuff plus and location plus, and it kind of bears out what's happening here. His stuff is really, really good. All 4 of his pitches are above 100 stuff plus, actually 105 or better, including 116 on his slider and 117 on his curveball. The problem is, the location plus is bad. It's below 100. Yes. It's at 96. He struggles with command and control. I think this is one of those just young guys that are going to have massive ups and downs. And the problem is he just doesn't go deep enough into games consistently enough to even give you an opportunity to win.
Yep.
So, again, I think this is... I think this is probably below Pfaadt and Jeffrey Springs for Fuentes, especially going to the Athletics. This is a really, really kind of terrible spot. I think this is a Hail Mary play in a 15-team league.
I think that's exactly right. We are in lockstep today on our 2 steps. Let's move to Brandon Young. Do you know what team Brandon Young is on?
I have no idea who Brandon Young is.
I didn't think you would, and no shade there. Brandon Young is a Baltimore Oriole prospect of some acclaim, not a stud, definitely like an org prospect versus like a top 100 type prospect. He's thrown some innings. They've not been great. He's had 4 starts in the majors, and he has a 7.02 ERA. And it's not just one bad start. It's 4 starts of 4 2/3, 4 and 4 innings. So he's never made it 5, and he's given up 3 to 4 runs in all 4 of those. So he's eaten up a few innings for them and hasn't been very good. Are we starting Brandon Young with the Mets in Miami coming to visit Camden?
The Miami part of it is somewhat interesting.
But guess what? It's the second part. So it could get
Yeah.
murked if he gets smoked. It could be that classic thing where we take the gamble. He gets pummeled by the Mets. And then they say, "Oh, the All-Star break's coming. We're not going to start you on Sunday. We're going to do a bullpen
send
game."
him back down. Yeah. Here's the thing I will say. Yeah, like he has had a really big control issue, but it was mostly one game against your Tigers. His last 2 starts, he has a total of 3 walks combined between the 2 over 8 innings. The problem is the 8 innings because he has yet to reach 5 innings in any start. So they're probably just not letting him go through the lineup a second time. So I just don't know that there's enough juice here to really matter.
That's where I'm at with Brandon Young, Baltimore Orioles. I just don't really see it here. He could do some things this week that could bring him on the radar for me, but I don't take this plunge. And again, the juice of it is the Miami start, and that is in the balance. And I'll say that for anything that's coming on the weekend. Teams could get froggy, whether it's a Brandon Young type or a stud. Don't be surprised. Like, let's say the Cubs have like a huge week. They take the first 2 at the Yankees. They might not start Shota on Sunday and just give him an extended break because he had a little health issue this year, right? So it could happen with a stud. It could happen with a dud, everything in between. Just be careful with the schedule this week. With the All-Star break coming, we know teams will do crazy things.
Yeah, I've been waiting for teams to start sending prospects down.
Me too.
This all the time. Wizarowski, I could see the Brewers sending him down.
Absolutely. Chase Burns, any of the hot prospects.
I think
medium
Burns
prospects.
probably not, since they just brought him up, but you never really know with this. So be very, very conscious of what's going on.
They better not do it this week with Burns. They play Miami and Colorado this week, both at home. So he's guaranteed a good, a good matchup, albeit at home, which is a tough venue, but he's guaranteed a good matchup to kind of make up for that last outing that Burns had. So hopefully they don't pull any shenanigans with him. Let's move to Brayan Bello, who's got those same Rockies, and then Tampa Bay, both coming to Fenway to visit. So, Bello's been an up and down guy. He's got his believers. I've been one in the past. I've had some Bello love. This year I've been a little bit off, but, do the daily SP chart. So I'm always on top of where pitchers are at. And he's certainly been better of late. Early season, I was really not seeing it because his skills were really weak. The skills have gotten better. And now since June 1st, we've seen 6+ innings in all but 1 start. And it was his most recent one where he only threw 5 innings against Cincinnati, which I don't really know why. He had 62 pitches. I don't know if that was just protecting him. He'd been pitching very well. 1 hit, 62 pitches. That's kind of bizarre that he left early there. But Brayan Bello's been much better of late. 2.97 ERA in those 6 starts. Does Colorado, Tampa Bay for a 2-step scare you both at home?
It was weather. He actually.
That's what I was going to check. Okay.
Yeah, he came in for it was the continuation of his.
Oh, I see that.
So
he followed Fitz basically, who threw 3 innings.
Yeah, Fitz had his start, suspended, and when
right. That's what it was.
Bello came in and he did it, which totally.
That's awesome, by the way. Yeah. So okay, so then that's just another great start. Or it's not a start, but it's another great outing for Bello. I think my confidence is pretty high. I think 15s, 12s, and maybe some 10s.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering he has just been so much better over the course of this month,
Mm-hmm.
the last 30 days or so. It's interesting too, because all of a sudden the strikeouts too are I think he's trying to pitch a little bit more to contact here. He's up to a 92.5% zone contact over the course of this month. He's really trying to get out of innings quickly.
Right, to try to extend, because here's the thing for Bello, his previous 5 starts before June were all 4 innings to 4 2/3. Like, he couldn't get over that 5-inning hump. Then all of a sudden he reels off a bunch of 6 innings outings. And the only reason he went 5 in that last game was because, like you said, it was that suspension, and somebody else closed the game for him. Because it was Fitz for 3, Bello for 5, and then Chapman closed it.
So you're getting 2 pretty decent matchups at home. The Rockies, anytime the Rockies are on the road, you're looking to attack them because they struggle so mightily on the road. And then you get Tampa Bay, who is just not a team you're really, really afraid of when they get away from Tampa Bay. Now, I will say they have been the hottest offense in baseball over the last 30 days.
And I was going to bring that up, but is it enough to scare you?
I don't think so. Not with Colorado at the top of the week. So I think I'm rolling with that Colorado start, and then I'm okay if they scratch that second start.
Right.
I don't think I'm as worried about Tampa Bay away from Tampa Bay in Boston. I think I'm more apt to take a chance at targeting them.
So I got 2 very important things. 1, Daisy Fuentes, still gorgeous.
Yes.
2, do you know who she's married to?
Oh, I should know this.
Famous person.
I know.
The
80s. No, I can't.
Some might confuse him for a socialist.
Oh, Richard Marx?
Yeah. Did that clue get you there?
Yeah, that was the clue. Well, you said 80s and then you said socialist. So like, it's either that or John Lennon.
Right.
And I think that was possible. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. But yeah, so anyway, I had the Google search still pulled up. She's still absolutely gorgeous. Again, starting her in all formats. Nick Martinez, another Justin Mason guy here. Just when I jumped off on him, he went and had that no-hit bid against your boys. Just an excellent outing. And he is one of those guys, the lows can be pretty low because he's a pitch-to-contact guy. He can have some pretty rotten outings. And so when Minnesota absolutely clobbered him to send him basically back to the bullpen, they get 7 runs off of him in 2 2/3. He goes to the bullpen for a couple outings. Seemed to be kind of a clear your head sort of vibe, because then he comes back, and it wasn't your boys. I'm sorry. It was San Diego.
Yeah.
8 innings of 1-hit ball, and then a decent outing in Boston. I'm not going to crush him too hard to go to Fenway and give up 9 hits, but it was 6 2/3, 4 runs. I can live with that. Only 2 Ks. That's kind of the Nick Martinez experience.
But
I told you the great week that they got coming up. Yeah. Miami, Colorado. Both at home, but Miami, Colorado. I kind of like Nick Martinez here. I'm back in the train a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can't start him versus Miami, Colorado,
easy
you can't start. Like, I think you have to be starting him everywhere.
Agreed. If you have Nick Martinez and you're not starting for Miami, Colorado, means you'll never feel comfortable starting him.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're for sure starting Nick Martinez in every format. Oh, Roman Anthony double right there.
Cleveland, don't screw with us here. Joey Cantillo in for Luis Ortiz, who's being investigated.
Oh my gosh!
Possibly throwing matches here. Geez. Yeah, listen.
Well, not throwing matches, but throwing pitches. That's for sure.
Throwing pitches that are suspect, and this is on the heels of Malik Beasley of my Detroit Pistons under investigation too. And I've been somebody who's been around gambling my whole life. It's not been something that bothers me as much. I totally understand everyone's issues with it, though, and how insidious it is across the entire sports landscape right now. And cases like this really bolster those folks that say, do we really want to be doing this? And then anytime you see these things, the comments are laced with, Luis Ortiz examination brought to you by FanDuel, things like that. So it's like, how do you approach all this right now? We don't have to get too much into Ortiz, but what about the gambling stuff overall? Is it something that really bothers you? Is it something that they need to get completely away from to avoid these issues? Or is this just part of it and they're still going to keep taking the money and deal with these cases?
I think MLB needs to And I think all sports really needs to like push away from like this like acceptance of gambling being okay. Like, especially like it's one thing to like bet on a game, right? Say, oh, I think this team's gonna beat this team. Because it's a team sport. It's really hard for one individual, unless you have a Black Sox situation where everybody's in on it. Like, it's really hard for one player, especially in baseball, to really affect things.
Right. You get 4 at bats. You might not get any fielding if you're
unless you're a
player.
pitcher, I guess.
And then you're the pitcher. But even then, in today's game, you're the pitcher. You might only get 5 innings. So like you can get.
And if you're bad, you might only get 2. Like
exactly, you can only affect it so much. I'm not saying they couldn't find ways to cheat, but I'm just saying like you're right. Baseball, you can only do so much. Basketball, you can do a lot. 1 of 5, you can do a lot to throw the game.
But this scenario where, I mean, for those who don't know, they're investigating 2 individual pitches. It was for the first pitch of the second inning, and then of one game, and then about 2 weeks later, the first pitch of the third inning, where all of a sudden betting markets really, really changed for those 2 individual pitches, and whether they'd be a ball or a strike. And that's where I think MLB has a problem, because
betting on that shit is psychotic, by the way. I'm sorry. And again,
no, it's absolutely psychotic.
Pro betting, I'm not one of these that doesn't think that fantasy is gambling and everything. I'm not a puritanical person. You got some problems if you're betting on every individual pitch, though, folks. Come on. You got to step away from that a little bit.
Yeah. I agree with that completely. So, I mean, I think MLB needs to like crack down the best they can, because it's really not up to them, right? It's up to Vegas, it's up to these sports books on what they'll take bets on. But they really should be telling these sports books, listen, like if you want our cooperation with things, you can't allow this stuff, because
let's keep it more broad.
It's too tempting,
manipulated, right? Because that's the same thing with Beasley in the basketball thing. I think it was, like over under on rebounds or something, and then he can either go crazy hard for rebounds. And I think there was one clip about his where he ran down the court with 5 seconds left in a done game. The game was over. He could have scored a 3-pointer and wouldn't have mattered, but he hustled down to score, and it made Denver cover. And so it looked like, why did he run down there when nobody else was moving to get those last 2 points? So, it's a crazy scenario. And the reason we brought it up is because Joey Cantillo's in for Luis Ortiz. And the reason I was yelling at Cleveland not to mess with us is because he's got his juice at the end of this. It's at Houston, at the White Sox. Don't just give him the Houston start and then put him on the shelf the way I was talking about earlier with prospects. Let him make this Chicago start. I love Joey Cantillo. I'm excited for his opportunity. I hate the way that the opportunity has come to pass with Ortiz getting in trouble here. But I'm a Cantillo guy, and I'm intrigued by this. I think I could run it in 15s. I'm probably more interested in just stashing him and seeing where this goes, because then we also have to let the break run out and see if Ortiz is in deeper trouble or if he'll be right back and Cantillo's just spot starting right now. So how do you feel about Cantillo?
I don't think there's any way Ortiz is back before the second start.
He got to be. No. I'm saying after the All-Star break.
I don't think he's back.
I don't think so either. I'm just saying, like, for example, RotoWire has him listed for the third start off the break. I don't think that's happening.
No, I don't think that's happening.
But do you think Cantillo's up for a bit?
I do, but I don't think it matters. Cantillo has not really shown the ability to go deep into games. So,
you've really been given the opportunity to start. I think you're sleeping on my guy. Now, the one thing I will say is
he hasn't gone more than 3 1/3 in the minor leagues this year.
They're stretching him out.
Well, is he going to be stretched out? You think enough to like? Are you really going to risk like the front half of
I don't want to risk the Houston start. That's the scary part. Yeah.
So I think this is more of a watch list kind of guy, or pick up and stash and see what happens.
And in fairness, I said pick up and stash was mostly my interest here. I could maybe get there in 15s, but I'm more interested in kind of just stashing and seeing where it goes and what happens with the Ortiz situation. Because if Cantillo has the second half and gets an opportunity for a full spot, I think he can be extended out to be a 5-6 inning guy. It comes down to his control though too, because he has control issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're not really starting him, but maybe pick up and stash.
I'd rather start Fuentes, honestly.
That's fine. I can
honestly. I think I might start Brandon Young.
Brandon
Young's at least gone 4.
Yeah. You're probably right, but I'm gonna dig my heels in a little bit and say I go Cantillo over Young. But that's it. Everyone else over Cantillo.
I mean, you shouldn't start
Young.
either of those guys.
Right, right. You really should be looking elsewhere. I'd probably look at one of these two over Cantillo
sure.
or Young. The two White Sox here, Sean Burke and Aaron Civale. You know, the White Sox aren't good, and Shane Smith's probably their most appealing player. But Burke and Civale are at least competent pitchers. But they get Toronto and Cleveland both at home. Toronto's been killing it lately. That's the part that really scares me. The Cleveland start's great, but again, it's the back end one. And what if one or both gets shelved? I don't think Civale will. He's a veteran. I think they say just you keep eating innings until we trade you. Who do you like more between Burke and Civale here?
I think I like Burke better. The problem is what you're just talking about is if they're going to send a guy down,
it would be him. You would think.
It would be him for sure. But
or even not send down, but just say, hey, sit on the bench. You're not starting to start. We're going to do a bullpen game, or we're going to save some innings for the second half.
He's been really good over his last 3 starts, though.
So hopefully they just trust him. Just let him. Let Burke go.
Over his last 3 starts, he has a 1.10 ERA in 16 1/3 innings with 19 strikeouts. He's only allowed 2 home runs in that span.
He's been locating very well, by the way, for Burke. I mean, that's been really the big changes that he's been spotting stuff.
And against really good competition. It starts against St. Louis, Arizona, and at the Dodgers. Hasn't allowed more than one earned run in any of these 3 starts.
I see you.
So, yeah, like he's been really, really good over this really small sample, right? So, obviously, but Toronto, man, like George Springer all of a sudden is
your boy, man.
Like he finally he's like peak George Springer right now, which is crazy because he had that scary collision with Jazz Chisholm where he got hit in the throat, and then the next day came out and hit 2 home runs. So this one is a little bit scarier just because Toronto is hitting the ball so well, but I kind of put Burke maybe right behind Springs and Pfaadt, but ahead of a lot of the other guys we've talked about. So
I can get behind that.
I think in 10s and 12s, he's a really slim maybe. But in 15s, I think he's for sure in your lineup this week.
Yep, I think I'm right there with you on Sean Burke, and like Civale could at least be on the table. The problem is, what do you get? When he was with Milwaukee, and he was only 1-5. So what I'm about to say didn't actually happen, but at least when he was with Milwaukee, you felt like he could maybe snatch a win.
Yeah,
it only happened once. He's 1-5, but at least you had that as okay, he might go 5 innings, 4 runs, but I can get a win. With White Sox, you don't feel as confident for that. He doesn't really have great skills. So I've been a Civale guy in the past. I think I'm going to pass here, though. Burke, I'm more interested in for sure.
I think Civale's in consideration in a 15. I mean, the only problem is his one kind of baddish start. He went 7 innings against Toronto with 5 earned runs given up. It was against Toronto. He's
right.
Going to go
and
play
they're back, and they're still blazing. They're
yeah,
still on fire right now. So
I think, especially with how many pitchers we've lost recently, I think he's going to be in consideration in 15s.
That's a great point.
But I think he's only a consideration 15, especially because the strikeout rate for Civale is so low that there really isn't a ton of upside here with a lack of win potential with the White Sox and a lack of strikeouts. You're really hoping that he's able to go 6 innings and just, give some good ratio help.
Yeah, pile up some ratios, some quality starts, maybe a points league start there, first of all, something like that. Jack Flaherty, we talked about last week. He was slated for the 2-step. The way the weather worked, he didn't get it because they got pushed to the doubleheader. He did throw 5 innings, 3 runs with 5 hits, 2 walks, and 9 punchies at Washington. Didn't get the win. It was a no decision, but that wasn't a bad outing. How do you feel now looking at next week's 2-step that is slated to be Tampa Bay and Seattle both at home? So a couple of decent offenses, but coming to Comerica. Do you feel better about Flaherty than you did last week after a 9 strikeout, 5 innings, 3 runs against the Nats?
I mean, I feel a little bit better because he, had the outing he had, but these are 2 of the tougher matchups in baseball right now.
It's a little tough.
I mentioned that over the last 30 days, Tampa Bay is the number 1 offense. Well, Seattle's number 4 offense. So Like this is a really risky matchup here against two teams that aren't really striking out and that are hitting the cover off the ball quite a bit. I mean, Cal Raleigh has to be the MVP of like baseball right now. Like it's like,
Aaron Judge still exists.
I know, but like
Cal
Raleigh he is on pace. Well, sorry, he is the third most home runs as of the end of June in Major League Baseball history. Yep. Like that is insane. As a catcher,
it's looking to be the best catcher offensive season ever. Right? I mean, like he's on pace for that already. And he wouldn't even have to, like, here's the thing too, and we don't want this, but I'm just saying, like, his season could end tomorrow and you could not get mad.
No.
Like he gave you a full season, 33-9 with a 268 average. If some crap happened, you'd be like, well, that sucks, but I did get my full Cal Raleigh season.
Like you already got what you paid for.
Is he gonna hit 50?
Man, I hope so.
He needs 17 bombs, dude, and he's so.
I think if he stays healthy, he's gonna. I think he could hit 60. Like
I think so too. I think he is that nasty. Now, does that scare you enough? And Tampa Bay's bringing in some home run hitters too. Nobody like Raleigh, but they got some good guys, and from the left side as well. Flaherty's had some bomb issues this year too, so that is a big problem. Are you fading him anywhere in the shallower formats? I think 15s you got to run with Flaherty. He's just, too much of a quality guy on a good team. Yeah. But what about your 10s and 12s where you have a little bit more optionality? Does Flaherty make the cut here as you're trying to chase maybe some wins? Because he is 0-3 in his last 4 outings.
I have a really hard time just not starting him. The two-step at home. Tigers, one of the best teams in baseball.
One of.
So.
One of.
I mean, technically, they're second, right?
I know.
Dodgers
that would work a lot better when we actually had the best record. But yeah, they're second best record in baseball. And I
think you're rolling with it in 10s and 12s and just hoping and praying he doesn't get lit up in one of these.
That's where I'm at too. I think he's just too good, and you do have the protection or the floor of he could be mediocre and still cop a win. Like if he throws a 5 innings, 3 runs like he did against Washington, he could still get a win in either of those starts.
He could also rack up 14, 15 strikeouts between the two.
No doubt.
Even if he's not like peak Flaherty.
There's a lot of avenues to get success here, and that's why you got to start Flaherty. Yeah. Noah Cameron finally getting a little bit of a reprieve here on his schedule. This youngster, lefty for the Royals, has had a really tough schedule to start his career, and he's stood up to it. 2.56 ERA, 101 WHIP, so you wouldn't know it. But it's made it difficult to feel super confident in him when he's getting all these difficult starts. He's had the Yankees. He's had the Dodgers, Seattle, St. Louis twice, actually, Tampa Bay. But I think Tampa Bay before they got hot, but it was in Tampa Bay. That's where he debuted. So he's just had consistently good teams. Cincinnati was in the mix there too. But he's handled pretty much every challenge except for the Dodgers and Yankees, both of which you could have avoided though. Right? Noah Cameron, a young starter, you could have easily curated those starts. So here we are now with a 2-step for the youngster. That's going to include Pittsburgh and the Mets, both at home. We get the juice at the front end too. So even if they canceled him for the Mets start, you wouldn't even be mad. I feel pretty good about Cameron in 15s and 12s. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think you're starting him everywhere here. You get
10s even too?
Yeah, I think you get that Pittsburgh start. You're also seeing his strikeout rate start to jump up over the course of these last 5 starts.
I think he's getting better as he's figuring things out. Yeah. Cameron's been impressive.
So, he was a guy that, you're like, oh, you're getting good work from him, but you're not really getting any strikeouts. Well, he's got 24 strikeouts in his last 24 2/3. So you're closing in on that strikeout per inning. The only problem is last couple starts, he hasn't really gone deep enough, including his last start at Seattle, where he they ran some 19 batters.
They ran some counts on him. I was watching that game.
Yeah. And so this is one of those guys that could get sent down, right?
That's totally true. But that would skip the Mets start. I think that's okay. Give me my Pittsburgh start.
Yeah.
Even if I lose that back end, cool. I'll take hopefully a Pittsburgh gem and then reconvene after the break with Noah Cameron. But I do like this youngster. I think he's interesting, and I think he's interesting for the second half as well. What about the 2 Angels? Yusei Kikuchi maybe doesn't belong here, but we got to do a check-in with him. He's always good for a hot run, so I think he always belongs on this list, even when he's at his best. But he is blazing hot again. And then José Soriano, who's uber talented, but can be inconsistent. Let's start with Kikuchi. He's down to a 2.81 ERA, but a 1.37 whip. That is a horrendous whip, especially with that ERA. Texas and Arizona coming to visit both of these guys. Again, start with Kikuchi first. Where are you at on him? I know he's given us trouble over the years of like we buy in and then he pulls the rug, but he is super talented. So how do you feel?
I mean, I don't know how you don't start Kikuchi with.
You kind of have to, right?
Yeah, like he just like he has really turned it on here during the month of June. Since June 9th, Kikuchi has thrown 32.2 innings. He has 43 strikeouts, a 1.93 ERA, and
it's really good.
The whip has actually been 0.89. So like he is.
So what was his whip before that then? Like 1.8? If it's still 1.35 or whatever the hell I said.
I'll let you know. Actually,
it's probably really, really bad if it's been down to 0.89 since then.
It's okay. So since before this stretch, his whip was 1.59.
Oh my god!
So and he only had a 20% strikeout rate. So now
so he was getting cut everywhere and shit too. People were getting off the Kikuchi train big time. But he does this. He does this every year, Justin.
He does it all the time. Like he's just one of the most kind of up and down pitchers in base. I mean, he's like the Jake Berger of pitchers. Where it's all like, if you cut him, he's just gonna go do the goodness on someone else's team. You have to kind of just stick with him, set him and forget it, and hope that the end of the season line looks the way you kind of projected it out at the beginning of the season. I don't know how you don't start him everywhere. I think he is pretty close to a must start in every format, especially when you've got Texas at the start of the week. And like, so if he loses that second start, like you're not as worried about.
Right. Arizona's scary, but I think you just got to do it. Now, he will almost assuredly, Yusei Kikuchi, hit another lull at some point.
Yes, absolutely. So this is maybe a style high point.
Right. So like how do you deal with that part then? Like, is it 2 bad starts that you start to put him on the bench? Is it 1 or do you just keep riding it out even through the bad starts?
This is set it and forget it. This is like, hey,
just check in end of the year and get your strikeouts and get your good ERA.
Unless you're going to trade him, like you go, hey, look, he has been the best pitcher in baseball over the course of the last month.
Right.
And you say like, hey, I'm gonna try to sell him right here. If you're keeping him on your roster, he's in your lineup.
Okay. I think I can get behind that with Kikuchi because you don't want to keep these great starts on the bench. You're like, oh, I'm gonna skip Boston because Boston's tough. 7 innings, 2 unearned runs, 12 Ks, and he's this kind of talent that when Kikuchi's on, the matchup doesn't matter. He put 5 2/3 a 1-run ball on the Dodgers in LA. Yeah. Like when Kikuchi's on, he can get anybody, but when he's off, Miami can get him. So that's the tough part. What about Soriano? Again, I love this guy. He's uber talented. I still think his next organization will give him another level. I don't quite believe in the Angels getting the best out of him, but he's down to a 3.72 ERA, but he also bludgeons your whip. 1.42. He keeps the ball in the park. That's why the ERA is so good. He has an MLB best 0.3 homer 9. José Soriano. We starting him anywhere?
I think I am. I think José Soriano is a buy low opportunity right now. The stuff is really, really good. That isn't, in question, right? It's just a matter of like, how much is he going to pitch to contact on any given day? If you look over the last month, and that includes 2 truly atrocious.
I was going to ask if you were looking at his game log, right? Because he's either been a god or been killed.
Yeah. So if you look over his last 6 starts since the beginning of June, and it has a 3 2/3 with 7 earned runs given up at Boston, and then 4 innings of 8 earned runs given up at Washington. He's got a 4.33 ERA. The whip is, I think, 120 or 125. So the whip is down, right?
Palatable, yeah.
The FIP and XFIP are both like 220, 250. Like, he's actually just really got BABIP to death in both of those starts. Now, that's going to happen when you pitch to contact the way he sometimes does. But he's actually dropped his zone contact this month. He's doing something a little bit different. Swing strike rate's up to 15%. I think Soriano is kind of a buy low right here. And if I could get him before this 2 start, I think I would. And kind of just roll with him. I think I'm rolling with him in definitely 15s.
Yep.
And I think in some 12s, I think you can make the argument, maybe even a few 10s, to make the argument, because we've talked about a lot of guys so far. Not a lot of guys are super inspiring this week on the 2-start front. So.
He's pretty high on the both Angels are pretty high on this list. I think Kikuchi's number 1.
Yeah, Kikuchi's number 1. But then I think you put Soriano like right below Nick Martinez, right?
I was gonna say Flaherty, Martinez, and then Sori's probably my number 4, just going off the dome here.
Yeah.
So I'm co-signing with you there on Soriano, and I like your call out about a buy low for the second half here. And I don't think Angels pitchers are expensive in the market. I think you can get even Kikuchi. If you found somebody that wanted to sell high, I think you could get a fair price on him too if you really wanted to. So yeah, go with those 2 for sure. Hey Henry. Henry's coming in here. Janson Junk and Eury Perez for Miami are going to go to Cincinnati and Baltimore. Do either of them do anything for you?
Junk has actually been really interesting.
He pissed me off though, because when I finally, he had the nice run of outings, bought in on him, and his first outing is kind of like, hey, I'm on the Janson Junk train. He got clobbered, but he did immediately bounce back. So your boys torched him for 5 earned and 3 2/3 in San Francisco, but then 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 Ks against Minnesota. So I'm back in on the Junk train. I'm with you. I like him.
Yeah, I mean, he actually, this is one of those guys whose name actually says what he has, right? He has a bunch of junk. But what he does do is he really commands it well. His location plus is 121.
That's incredible, by the way. Anything
Yeah.
105 or better starts to be pretty solid. So 121 is truly incredible for Junk. And it helps him overcome the fact that the raw stuff itself isn't overpowering. He sits mid-90s. He's got a 10, 12% swinging strike rate. That's fine. But when you're locating, you can be great with that stuff.
Yeah, he's thrown 37 and a third innings this year. He has 2 total walks.
That's incredible, dude.
Now the thing is, he's really, really hittable. So he really relies upon mixing well, sequencing well, keeping hitters off balance. And so there are going to be bad starts because he allows a lot of contact. But he's, like I said, he's only allowed those 2 walks. His home run rate, he's only allowed 1 home run so far in these 37 innings. I think this is a guy that you should be using in deeper leagues. In 10s and 12s, there's not a ton of upside because Junk is not going to get you a lot of strikeouts. He's not going to get you wins pitching in Miami. And so you're really relying upon him not getting BABIP to death, which could happen, especially in that park.
Right.
But I think in 15s, he should be on a roster for sure and probably being used this week. And in some 10s and 12s, he's going to be the better option than maybe, a Brandon Pfaadt, who's a lot more risky.
I think so too. And I know both are on the road here for Junk, but I've been impressed with some of the stuff he's doing. So I'm with you. I think I'm going for this in 15s, and I could even at least look at it, especially if I was more ratio chasing than strikeout and win chasing.
I will say he's been really bad on the road, but it's only an 18 inning sample. So he's got a 198 ERA at home and a 5.40 ERA on the road.
And a lot of that was that bad outing at the Giants, and that's what happens when you have small samples.
Super small samples. So I'm not overly worried about it. But I think this kind of falls in the mid tier.
Is he well above Eury for you for this particular 2-step?
I think so.
Because Yuri's the better overall pitcher, but
I think it really depends on what you need right here, right? Do you need strikeouts? Because if you need strikeouts, Eury is the dude, right? And he's coming off his best start of the season with
he was great against
scoreless, with 7 strikeouts. But we know these Tommy John returnee guys, they'll have one great start, and then the next start will be all over the place because they just don't have the command of their stuff. So I think if I'm looking for strikeouts, then I'm going with Eury. If I'm looking for ratio help, I'm going with Junk. And if I'm looking for wins, I'm going to a different.
Going anywhere else. Yes, I agree with that. Simeon Woods Richardson Going to be home for a pair, Chicago and Pittsburgh. Chicago being the Cubs, I should say. That's scary because the only appealing part of this is Pittsburgh, and that's the last day of the first half or ostensible first half there. I'm not the biggest SWR fan. I can't really get there anywhere with this one. What about you?
I don't think there's a ton of upside here. I will say, like, he has been pretty good.
Much better of late. Credit where it's due.
Over his last 4 starts, Simeon, Woods, Richardson has a 1.71 ERA in 21 innings. So he's going deep enough to qualify for a win.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not really, he's not hurting you. So, like, I could see myself making this move in a 15. I think in a 10 or a 12. I just think he's too risky.
Cubs don't scare you, though? Enough. Like, I'm terrified
in a 15. What options do you have, my friend?
I know,
that's
true.
I have to drop like 3 pitchers in my main event league this week. Like, it's I have to drop Tyler Mahle. I've got to drop Spencer Schwallenbach, and I believe I have Luis Ortiz on this team.
Oh,
too.
and,
so I've got to make
you're
a
saying
decision.
Like the shit that you're gonna be picking up is gonna be rough.
Oh, it's terrible, man. Like, it's absolutely destructive. Like, I'll tell you, like, I just randomly put 5 pitchers into my my fab, and it's Andre Pallante, it's Richard Fitz, it's Jonathan Cannon, it's Ronnie Hernandez, and it's Sean Burke. Like, there's nothing available, and I feel actually kind of lucky that those guys are even available because. Like, I'm not even targeting yet the Patrick Corbins of the world or the JP Sears.
Fuentes available in that league?
I'm sure he's got to be, but like, oh no, he's not.
Wow.
There's just not a ton of options.
Your point is well taken there. Yeah, like they're just it's a rough go out there.
And I'm in better shape than a lot of people. Like,
right.
Like, my pitching has been pretty darn good in most of my leagues this year. But like right now, like, you look at like what's going to be available on the wire, and like, do you want to start, Colin Ray? Like, do you want to start JP Sears at home? Like, you Walker Buehler going up against Tampa Bay, the number 1 offense over the last 30 days. Like, Miles Mikolas, Bryce Elder at Sacramento. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're not. You're making your point well, is what I'm trying to say. Again, if it was Pittsburgh first, I'd be more confident. But Simeon Woods Richardson isn't some baby. I don't know that they're necessarily going to, like, he's 24, but I think they could let him get both starts. I'm just trying to be a little bit cautious about those second starts that are the good ones if the first one is really scary, and the Cubs are. But in 15s, I think SWR is going to at least be on the table.
I will say this year, with the amount of injuries we've had in the pitching in season, right? We didn't get a ton of pitching injuries prior to the season like we normally do. That took people off your boards. We had a few of them, but it wasn't like a rash of pitching injuries. This tells you why it is so important to stream early. I know in the past I've been a lot more conservative about streaming early. I wasn't this year, and I'm thankful for that.
Because you found a bunch of gems.
Yeah, well, and because I racked up a bunch of strikeouts. Like, I'm second in my main event in strikeouts.
Can I have some?
Yeah, now, like, I have the option of like looking at what's available on the wire, going, maybe I just go get a reliever. Like, for the
I was just about to say that when you were saying how you needed 3 guys. Had you considered maybe a decent middle reliever spec? Like, is Brayan Bello available? I know Hader's, locked and loaded there, but he can get you ratios and Ks. I mean, you might, for one of those 3 pickups, be better off getting a good reliever.
Like, Brady's not available, but like, yeah, like maybe I will end up, and I think people need to really consider this. Like, you don't always have to stream a starter. Right. Especially going into the All-Star break and coming out of the All-Star break, the guys who might be getting wins are guys who are like long relievers, right?
Yep.
Guys who can throw 3 innings. So, you may want to go look and, like, go over to the Dodgers and be like, okay, who the Dodgers have that's potentially, going to be pitching in long relief? Like, you want it Robleski or Kasperius if they've been dropped in your leagues. Like, those might be the better guys to kind of stream going into the break and out of the break. just because there's not a lot of starting pitching options, and these guys might be more in line for wins as teams try to save guys kind of through this break period.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, find those guys that have been getting trusted for like 2 to 4 inning outings and see who might be the ones getting that, especially coming out of the break too, for that short week.
Yeah.
A lot of leagues like count that as a week, and you can get in there, manipulate a few things and get some sneaky guys. You've done that in the past before. It's akin to, it's not the same, but it's akin to getting that Daniel Hudson save from Korea, right? Like you're doing one specific play for one period here, but those incremental wins can definitely help you. All right, let's keep going here. We've got Will Warren. This is kind of like where are we at with him thing, because I think he's an easy start in deeper leagues and even a lot of medium and shallow ones. I'm a big Will Warren guy. So it's more of a check-in of like, how do you feel? Because he got cooked by Toronto. Absolutely cooked. But it's Toronto. And we spent this entire episode talking about how great they've been lately. I mean, it counts, and you have to hold it against him somewhat, but I'm not killing him for it, is what I'm trying to say with Will Warren.
You may have avoided it. I mean, like,
and that's what I'm saying too. I think it was an avoidable start. Not in 15. Not in 15.
Yeah, especially because the 4 starts before that, he was so good.
That's the thing. So you probably wore it.
Yeah.
But does it take you off of Will Warren for the 2-step, or has he done enough here that Seattle, Chicago Cubs is not going to scare you for the 2-step next week? Both at home.
I mean, his ERA indicators are much better. 3.64x ERA. xFIP is 3.30. It really comes down to the control. The stuff is really, really good. And it's a matter of like, can he find the zone consistently enough in games to not put himself in a position to get his head caved in? And that's what happened in Toronto. So I like Will Warren, and I do think there is a really good starting pitcher in here. He's just got to figure out the control issues. Maybe take the Robbie Ray approach where his pitching coach tells him, "Hey, listen, your stuff's really good. Just throw it in the zone. If you
get for the middle, and let it wiggle. Let the wiggle take care of the movement.
If you get hit for home run or 2, at least it'll be a solo, right?
Exactly.
Don't put men on base for a bloop single to kill you here." So I do think that this is just young pitcher kind of figuring things out, but especially in 15s, like he's rostering all 15s, but in 10s and 12s, like there's a massive amount of upside here. And you've got the Yankee offense behind you that's going to support you. These are 2 tough starts. So like, I understand not wanting to do it in a 10 or a 12, but especially if you need strikeouts, right? Like this is one of those guys that I might take a gamble on here, especially because I'm sure he hit some wires in some shallower leagues this week.
That's the thing too, is that after the Toronto start, Will Warren is definitely getting cut in some of those shallower formats, like you're saying. So that's where he is going to find availability, and I would jump on board. I like this guy, and I like him longer term more than just this next week here. So Will Warren is somebody I would definitely scoop. Like you said, 15s he's already rostered. If he did happen to get cut because of the bad start, scoop him, but don't worry about too many 15s, because I just don't think he'll be available there. Andrew Heaney, boy, is this the Justin Mason show? We got some of your old favorites really showing out. At Kansas City, at Minnesota, we liked him because he went to Pittsburgh specifically, and I think his numbers have played that he's been better at home, but neither of these venues are terrible. So I feel like Heaney's done what we've kind of expected. He's been like a team streamer / regular streamer type, depending on how shallow your league is. It is a stark home road split. 2.53 ERA, 1.14 whip at home, 5.79, 1.26 on the road. But again, Kansas City and Minnesota, neither venue terribly difficult. Can you find any love for him here?
I mean, in Kansas City and Minnesota have been struggling offenses in the month of June. So I'm tempted by this, but I also know that there are going to be some issues like with him on the road. He's just been so bad on the road. I do wonder if there is going to be like I do wonder, like, is he the pitcher version of Trent Grisham, where like people are going to look at their numbers at the end of the season and go, look how much goodness he did on my bench.
Oh yeah. Where you can't time him.
It's so hard to time Andrew Heaney. I think in a 15, I'm doing this. 10 or 12, I don't know that I am. Like, he's been bad on the road. I understand people that are gonna.
It's 15s only for me too, and I'm a Heaney guy. You're the Heaney guy, but I'm with you. I've been a Heaney fan as well, and I was really giddy about this Pittsburgh situation. But with neither being a home start, it's 15s only, and not even every 15. Let's be careful out there, folks. Let's be careful with this next one too. I like this young guy, and you can give us a little bit more color on him as a Giants fan. But Landen Roupp, he's been up and down. You like the 3.48 ERA for sure, but a 1.48 WHIP is disgusting. And he gets, wait for this, Philly and the Dodgers. They are both coming to visit at home. Is that enough to get you there with Roupp? And if so, what formats? I'm going to guess if you even say yes on any of it, it's going to be 15s only. But let's hear what your thoughts are on the young Landen Roupp.
I do think it's 15s. The whip has just been so bad.
Horrendous.
I still think like there is a potential for a breakout in the second half. I do like the overall skill set on Roupp, and the Giants have stayed committed to him in spite of kind of some up and downs. I also worry that like as the season rolls on, that Roupp might have problems. He's really only had like one season in which he has thrown like a good amount of innings, and so I have no idea how his stuff is going to play out as we kind of move on into the season. And that season was 107 innings in 2022. So it's been a few years since he's like crossed that triple digit threshold.
Do you have any confidence? Oh, sorry. Do you have any confidence that Roupp can figure out the control, whether short term or even longer term,
I do.
The rest of the season or next year type vibe? Like, where are you at on the grand scheme with Roupp?
I really like Roupp, and he's been a guy that I've continued to like say like through the struggles like hey, this is a guy that you should be picking up if people are dropping him, and in places where people have dropped him in leagues I'm in, I've gone to the wire and picked up Roupp. The stuff is good, but like I do think the command and control is better than what he has shown. The command's been fine. It's been
the command's all right. It's the control that's been the biggest issue with Landen Roupp for sure.
And I just think again, this is one of these situations where if you've got Robbie Ray on the team, like you should be like, hey, like attack the zone a little bit more. Like
right, yeah, teach him that exact same thing that you said earlier. What for those that don't remember, in Toronto, what changed Robbie Ray was Pete Walker, the pitching coach, basically said, aim for the middle, and the overwhelming nastiness of your stuff, the natural nastiness, is going to take it in dips and dives and make you good. And guess what? It made him good. And I do think that there is something to that for somebody like a Roupp and several other guys, to be honest. I think it is like a method that a lot of guys, now it's easier said than done. And maybe they've told him that and he's like, yeah, I'm trying, but I just can't. Like my arm just like, keeps putting it on the corners or whatever. I do like
one of the big, I think, watching Roupp, like he nibbles too much. Like this is not a matter of like, he can't find the zone. He's trying to paint the outside and it doesn't work all the time. And so I do think like an approach change of him just attacking the zone and then being okay with the results because the stuff is good enough where it should carry. Like, I think that is where he should go. And I do think the Giants are a smart enough organization to figure it out.
I think so too. So we're staying committed to somebody like Roupp.
I need to knock on wood before I say this, but Giolito in a morning game
dealing, dude,
is in the 6th inning right now with a 9-0 lead.
Let's go. He got some sleep. Maybe he prepared. He's like, okay, I have this
5
reputation
scoreless so far. Like I think I think he's on my bench in a lot of leagues.
I mean, you were probably like, listen, he's lined up for a morning start. I can't let this happen. He has history. Yeah. He's a known non-morning guy. For those of you that don't know about Giolito, he's openly said, like, I'm not a morning guy.
He got destroyed on Patriots Day one year. And then like in the post-game interview, he goes, I don't like mornings.
No. And if you don't know about Giolito, he's a gamer nerd. Like he's up late playing video games. He used to stream on Twitch, like during the pandemic and stuff. So he's a night owl. A 10 a.m. start's a tough ask for him. Now, listen, it's your job. And if they tell you to do that, you do it. He seems to have adjusted. And part of it might be the Nats, but I don't care what it is. He's been awesome this match.
He gives up a base hit to CJ Abrams.
You did say you were going to knock on wood to try to.
I did, yeah.
but we did it anyway. All right, we got a few more here. Andre Pallante gets Washington, Atlanta, both coming to St. Louis. So you don't mind that part of it, but is he doing anything for you? He couldn't strike us out. So it's kind of a wins chase, but both matchups are decent because Atlanta kind of stinks.
And he's been pretty decent over his last 5 starts. So like,
you taking the plunge anywhere?
Oh yeah, like I said, he's in my waterfall in my main event. Like where
gotta be right.
I need 3 pitchers. Like I just think like he has the potential to get some wins here, and like there really aren't a lot of options. You're not going to get many strikeouts, right? It's 19 strikeouts over his last 28 innings,
right?
But he's only allowed 1 home run in that time frame. He doesn't really walk a lot of guys. I think that this is one you got to roll with in 15s for sure. In 10s and 12s, you may have better, more high upside options, but I also don't think you can't start him in a 10 or a 12 here.
I think that's fair, especially if you're pure wins chasing.
Yeah.
Because St. Louis is a decent team.
Washington is not. Yeah, Washington has been the 27th best offense over the last 30 days. Atlanta's been the 21st
and again,
offense.
Yeah, Atlanta stinks, y'all. I know the name value might shock you at first, but no, these are 2 winnable games here for Pallante. Let's finish off with somebody who's been as maddening as anybody we've talked about today. And he's one of these guys that you have a tough time ever really pulling the trigger on a cut, because Shane Baz is so talented. And the second you do is when he's going to drop, 8 scoreless at Kansas City like he did 2 starts ago, or 7 innings, 3 runs, 11 Ks like he did against the Athletics. However, there's always a 5-run outing looming, it seems like. So where are we at on Baz? At Detroit, at Boston?
2 tough matchups, but at least away from Tampa Bay, which is a tough place to pitch. He fared well against Boston recently, but he also got beat up against Detroit. I think this is a 15-teamer. I think 10s and 12s, he could be on the table. Oh my God. Oh, what a play by Rafaela. Oh my God.
Wait, where are you behind, or am I?
I'm probably behind.
Okay. Because
it was.
They're coming back from break for me.
Oh, okay. 9-1.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Never mind.
I'm on a different game. I'm so stupid, dude.
Oh, I was like,
I'm such an idiot.
Rafaela just made a hell of a play in center field. It ended up.
I'm like, they're showing the announcers over here. Yeah, because it's a different game, Paul. Sorry.
Yeah, it ended up being a sac fly, but like that could have easily been a double if Rafael didn't.
And Rafael makes it look easy out there with his speed. He's unbelievable.
It didn't even look easy, like it was, but it was a damn good play.
To your point about Baz and being away from home, he's the who do we say had the big home road split earlier? I can't remember. Oh yeah, so he flips it.
Yeah.
At home, 5.47 ERA for Baz, 2.91 on the road. I think 12s is a yes, and 10s it's on the table with this home road split and both being on the road for him.
All right, yeah, I'm down for that.
I'm a bit more in here, and this is as a Baz hater. So if I'm coming in on it,
I'm a Baz lover. I love Baz.
And you're not alone. I've been mostly on an island there, and I like the town. I like the guy. I remember when we first saw him break through at the Fall League, 5,000 years ago. I want him to be good, but I was like, show me something. And so far this year, he's shown me some things that have given me more interest in him. So, all right. At Detroit, at Boston, I think we're doing it in 15s and 12s, and it's at least on the table in 10s. There's your 2-step board for the week. Other than that, though, we're taking the holiday. If you didn't see a Roto write-up or an SP chart today on Friday the 4th, that's because Justin and I are trying to enjoy the holiday a bit. We'll be back. Any of you guys doing anything on Sunday?
I believe so. I believe we're going to get back to it out of last few weeks off just because of conflicts. But Jason and I should be back to it this week. And then I don't foresee missing any Sundays rest of the season. So I don't have anything else as far as I know planned coming up for the next few months. So
sounds great.
Yeah, we should be rolling.
Let's get through this next week here before we get another little break with the All-Star break. It'll be a nice recharge period. But I will talk to you earlier next week, Justin. I'm sorry. Take care, buddy.
Take it easy.